Welcome to Duran's Designs. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a 3D model from a bitmap image. So let's get started. We'll start by opening up Aspire and starting a new document with a dimension of 10 by 10 and 1.5 inch thickness. Okay, so we will go and get the image. You can get any image you like off the internet, but this is the one I chose. You want to get a larger image with good resolution. Okay, so once you find the image that you downloaded, you're going to import it into your document. And we're going to resize it to the size you want. Now I'm just making the image alone, but you can add other elements into your 3D design, like text and other images. It's not hard to do. Okay, so we're going to click twice on that, resize it from the corner, holding shift will keep it in the middle of the document and aligned. And in this case, I'm going to lower the width a little bit to about 6 of the document, just so it's a little quicker to toolpath. Take a little less time in a 3D tool. Okay, so we're going to make layers for everything. So every different item we make, we're going to make a layer for it so that we can check and uncheck the layer as we're designing. We're going to start by making the body. So we'll make a new layer called body. And we will get the create line tool. And we'll just start tracing around the body. We'll pick a spot. Now to zoom in, it's important to know your keys on your keyboard that are most used, and also on your mouse. To zoom in, you can use your scroll wheel on your mouse. And to move around the document, you press the scroll wheel down and move at the same time. So it's time consuming doing this, but you don't have to be perfect because you can go in and edit your lines after you're done. Just get it to look exactly the way you want it to. Try to stay as close to the edge of the image as possible. But like I say, you can go quick. Zooming in and out as you go to make sure you're on the right path. It's good to zoom in as much as you can so you can accurately judge where the lines are going, especially when you have a lot of curves to get around. But like I said, you don't have to be perfect in the beginning. Just try to get that line going as best as you can. Just keep clicking. Every time the line turns, you just make a new click, and that gives you another point where you can adjust. Using your scroll wheel to zoom in and out as you need to. Like I said, holding down the scroll wheel and moving to move the image. You just keep going like this until you get all the way around the body. It's time consuming, but it's worth it when it's done. So if you like this video, make sure to go down and hit the like button, hit subscribe. You can be notified when I make a new video on 3D modeling, Aspire, everything related to CNC and tool reviews for woodworking. And check in the description down below and you can see some of the tools and products that I use in my workshop with my CNC. You can get a link to each product down below. I'll just speed the video up here just so you get an idea quickly how I finish this off. So I just slowed things down here a little bit just to show you that if you do make a mistake, it's okay. You can easily adjust your line. Here I just, if you drag your mouse the wrong way, you can have a issue. So you just go in, hit the node editing button, delete that. Make sure you don't hit it delete with the keyboard or you'll delete the whole line. You just right click and delete the point. And you go back to your line tool, try to click it right on the dot, and you keep going. And I made another mistake here. I didn't want to actually go up that high. Sometimes you get carried away while you're making the lines. So you just go in and just select that line and you can just delete it with the keyboard delete. Okay, so then you can go back in here and just start a new line. In this case, I'm going to use an arc. Click it on the point, click it on the next point where you want to go, and then just click on the bend in the middle where you want the line to curve. So that's all done now. You just select everything that you just created and you're going to see if it's open, which it will be, and you just hit close on the close vector tool. Okay, so now that we got the body done, we're going to add another layer, and that'll be the hat. Now you could do it all in one if you want it all to be on the same level, but if you want to be able to control your components individually, give them different shapes, then it's good to have a line on a separate layer around each component. Now before we go and do that, we can adjust any imperfections in the line we just created. So we'll go back to the body layer, go to the node editing, you can click on each point that you want to move, and I like to move it with my keyboard arrow keys. Once I click on the individual point, you can see it turns red, and you can adjust using the arrow keys up and down and to the side till you get it just right. That's a really great way to adjust your quick line that you made, just to make it look a little bit nicer and cleaner. And sometimes you can insert a point if you don't have one where you want it. You just right click on the line and hit insert point. You can also delete points that way by right clicking on the line on top of a point. So you just go through your model and you just see that you like all your lines. If you don't, you just click on them and adjust them. It's very simple. Here I'm adding another point so I can bring it out a little bit. And you can get a little nitpicky with this, but it doesn't take too long to adjust your lines to get them exactly the way you want them to look. So once you got the lines the way you want them to look, you can go back to the hat and you can start tracing around that in the same way you did your body. Now in some cases you can use the arc tool. It makes it a little quicker. It's not actually perfect, so you can just go in and adjust it with the node editing. Insert a point, click it, and use your arrow keys to move it where you want it. Insert another point, and just keep doing that until you get it as close to the line as possible. And once you have it the way you want it, you can start on your next line. In this case, I'll just use an individual line tool and not the curve, because the curves are not very even, so it's easier just to go in there with individual points. Now you want to stay as close to the line as possible, just to prevent any gaps between the two different components. You can always adjust that afterwards with your node editing tool. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. Just close out of that, and you just have to go on, hit the node editor, and delete that point and start again. Or you can just stretch it and stretch it to where you want it, add some more points, and just get the line as close to the other line as possible so you don't have any gaps. So now you can go back to the create line and go on the path that you want to go on. Keep continuing to trace around the hat. Staying on the line, if you have snapping on, it should snap to the points on the line. Doesn't always work, but usually gets you pretty close. You'll probably have to go in and edit the line again. So don't get too fussy when you're doing your initial trace. Remember to use your zooming in and out with your scroll wheel, holding the scroll wheel to move the document. And then once you have that all finished, you can go in and edit your lines. Insert a point where you need to, move it over till you get it to look like you want. If you got some rough lines, you can move them up and down as needed. And once you've done that, you can go and uncheck the body, so you can just select all the lines and close them out and join them. You just click on it to make sure it's all one continuous line, and you'll be able to model with that line. So now we're going to move down and work on our next component. We're going to add a new layer for the umbrella. Make sure you're naming your layers as you go. That's important if you need to adjust later on, so you know what you're working with, especially as you get into the larger models. Now we're going to start tracing around each component of the umbrella using your different tools. So sometimes you want to click on the component next to your item just to see where the lines are. So you see I got And this one I traced around the umbrella. Now you can do that if you want, if you all want it to be all on the same level. But in this case I wanted it to have different level as the umbrella is kind of behind the hand. So I'm just going to adjust that line just by deleting points in the node editor on the body line. You can just delete the ones you don't need and add one in the middle just to drag it out. Okay, so now you can recheck the umbrella, bring that line back, and adjust it with the node editor just to be as close to that body line as possible. So once you make your final adjustments, you can move on to the other part of the umbrella. If you want, you can keep that on the same layer. Now you want to uncheck the body and reselect that. Sometimes you have to close the line first before you can... Oh, you got an issue here with the line. So we're going to have to go into node editing and we're going to have to drag the line out using the handlebars, and then we'll just delete that point and that'll give you a good corner there. You don't want to have overlapping vectors. So that's all closed, and we can go back to drawing the bottom half of the umbrella. You can alternate between using the arc tool and the line tool. So you just adjust everything as you need to. You probably would have been better off just using the line tool from the beginning on that one. The arc tool is useful, but not in every situation. Sometimes the line tool is the way to go. So it's a good idea to turn the body level back on there so that you can see where your line ends. In this case, I'm going to adjust the body line. So you click on that and node editor, and you can just bring that up. I made it a little bit too small or not high enough. It's easier just to adjust that line. Get it to line up with the line you just made there for the umbrella. Maybe bring the umbrella down a little bit by clicking on the other line. Still in node editing mode. And we can just, while we're in this mode, we can just adjust the lines a little bit that we already created. And I will use the Create Arc tool again. And only go up high enough where we can get a bend on there. You go too high and you'll be having to adjust it too much. Another issue with the arc tool is sometimes it gives you a bend that doesn't connect the lines very well. So you just have to go in there and edit that and drag it to the point and fine tune it a little bit. Then you remember to go in and select everything, turn off the body, select all the lines, and either close them or join them. I start by closing and then see if it's joined. It's not, so I'll hit join. And now it's all one line. Okay, so we got most of the components done. Now you can go in and add more components if you like, but don't forget we're going to add a skin on this to give the fine details. So we'll go in now and we'll do the mouth and the tongue, and that'll be the final line drawings for this model. We'll start by doing the outside of the mouth so we can create a indent, and then we'll have the tongue protruding out. So I tried a arc on this one. I don't think that is going to work, so like I said, sometimes it's better just to use the line tool. So I connect that up, and everywhere that the line starts to move direction, just hit another point. And once you get the lines where you want them, just select all, close it, see if it's joined. It's not, so join it, and you're good to go. So next we'll do the tongue so it can stick out a little bit. So zoom out. Add a new layer. Name it tongue. Gotta go back to the drawing. And we'll start making a line. And here I decided to go down and change my mind. Deleted that. So you go to the node editor and you just delete the points you don't want. And then you can just drag that final point to where you want it. And then start the line again. We're just going to go in and check the mouth, and we can just adjust the lines. Probably would have been good to leave the layer active while you're making it, but you can adjust it pretty easy after the fact. So we're almost finished with the tongue. Just adjusting the last points. And once we get that all done, we're going to go up and unclick the mouth, and we will select all the tongue. Select it again, and we will close it, and it is closed. So we're good to go. Got everything done now. We're going to uncheck all the layers except for the body. And we will select all the body only. Go into 3D view mode, and we'll create a new component. It looks a little rough right now, but once we add the skin, I'll show you how to do that later. It'll look pretty good. You just want to adjust the settings. I'm using a dome shape, and adjust the angle of the dome till you get a kind of a body shape. That's up to you how you want that to look. Once you're happy with that, you're going to hit apply. Always hit apply when you're creating a model, and you can start a new component. And we can do the mouth. You're going to click on that, adjust it to where you want it, and this one we're going to go indent, hit apply, and that will indent the mouth. And then when we click on the tongue, that'll stick it back out. Just fine tune it till you get it where you want it, adjusting the base height and the angle of the dome shape. A lot of that look is going to come from the skin that we apply on the top. Alright, so you hit apply, you start a new component. Actually, before we do that, we will go down and name Name our components. You want to make sure you name everything as you go, same as the layers. So I'll name that one body, and this one will be mouth. Okay, so now we can select the tongue, start a new component, and we can get all our settings the way we want and hit apply. And then we got almost everything done. We still got to do the umbrella and the hat, and then add the skin. Actually, let's do the skin first so you get an idea what we're looking at here. So we'll close that out, and we will go to the layers, and we will only check the bitmap. Uncheck everything else, and then we'll click on that, and we will go to the make component from a bitmap, go back to our 3D, and make sure that the component we just made is on the top, just like a skin is on the top. And there we go. That's how our skin will look. It's still a little rough. We'll add smoothing to the whole model, and that'll clean up all the edges a little bit. You can see it looks pretty good. The skin adds a lot of detail, and it goes exactly where the model is that we made. But now it's 3D. Now you can adjust the size and the thickness of the model however you like. That's a pretty thick model, but you can go thicker or you could go more shallow. Okay, so now we're going to go and we're going to do the umbrella. So we will select the umbrella, zoom in so we can select. Oh, we just moved it there. We'll just move it back and make sure the model is lined up. Okay, so I'm selecting both the umbrella and the handle, but you can see that it doesn't allow you to apply it because they are not connected. So you only can make a model of a closed vector. And so you just want to select the one at a time. You'll have to do two different components with that. But that one is still open, so we have to go and join it and close it. So I guess we didn't do that in the first place. Now let me apply. And there you go. Hit apply. Just going to set it to this setting. And we will adjust the angle, make it a little more 3D. You just play around with it until you get it to look the way you want. And make sure you always hit apply. And then you can start a new component. After selecting the handle, and you can just fool around with the settings there just to get it to look the way you want. And once you hit apply, you can close it. It's looking pretty good. And we're going to go back and make sure we name our components. You got the tongue. I like to call that one skin. And you have to make sure that one's always on the top. You can put it on a second level if you want. And you don't have to continue to move it up, especially if you have a large model. Then it'll always be on top. But this model's not very many components, so Just keep it on this level, but we can just move it up to the top by selecting it and dragging it, or using those arrows on the top right of the components. Okay, so we'll take a look at this model. It's looking pretty good. All we got left is the hat. Everything else is looking good. And we're almost done. So we'll go back to the layers, go for the hat, select it. We're still in node mode, so we'll switch it over to the regular selection. And we will create a new component. Hit apply. And it's a little shallow, so you just move your view around so you can adjust it. Use your base height, bring it out so it matches more with the rest of the model. That's too much. Use your angle. Just get it the way you like the way it looks. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, always make sure you hit apply, then close out. And then after you've named your components, you're going to select them all. That's not the right one. We're going to select smoothing. And it asks you to bake the components first. Just hit OK. And then you want to, not too much, just move the slider for the smoothing over just a little bit till you get it the way you want it. Then you're going to bake it. That just locks it in. Hit close, and that looks much smoother now. Okay, so we're going to go to the toolpath. We'll pick a 3D finishing toolpath. Use the material boundary, ball nose 1/8 inch. Then we'll calculate that. And we will preview all toolpaths, and there you go. We have a finished model. It's looking pretty smooth. You can see how long it'll take on that size, about just under 3 hours. It's a pretty detailed model, so that's not too bad. And I thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. We'll have new videos every week, including tutorials, product reviews, and more. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.